Welcome back to the Career Pivot Playbook, Navigating Career Change with Confidence. I'm Shruti, founder of Delegate Workflows, and today we are diving into Lean In, establishing yourself in your new career. With us again is Smita D. Jain, an executive and personal empowerment life coach who successfully transitioned from a corporate professional to an entrepreneur. Welcome back, Smita.
Thank you, Shruti. It's great to be here again with you. Establishing yourself in a new career is a critical step, and I'm excited to share some strategies to help our viewers make a strong start.
Absolutely. Smita, let's start with how to make a strong first impression. What are some key factors to consider?
In my view, there are four factors that are important. First is preparation. Preparation, of course, means that you need to research the new industry, role, company thoroughly that you are considering. It also means that you have to take those steps that you consider necessary to meet the skill gap, whether it entails new certifications, new courses, shadowing, and volunteering, because ultimately you may have a passion for something, but you also need to have the right tools to equip you for success. So preparation is researching as well as taking the steps that is necessary to close any gap that might be there. Understand the expectations and challenges that you may face in your new industry. Second, professionalism. Dress appropriately, be punctual, and communicate clearly and confidently. Now, the extent to which these three basics are required may vary from industry to industry, but first impressions are often based on how you present yourself, how authentic and integrity you project. So it's important that you take care of these basics. Third, the positive attitude. Show enthusiasm and a willingness to learn. This can make a significant difference in how you are perceived. See, everyone makes mistakes, and mistakes are natural. You need to reframe your mind to consider mistakes as setbacks, temporary setbacks, rather than permanent failures. Fourth, this is the last but not the least, listening and observing. So you can research, you can read, but the actual learning takes place on the job. And since this is a new industry you are entering into, you need to take out the time to watch, listen, and observe others who have been in the industry for longer than you, before you start making suggestions and adding your changes to the way you view things. So understand the culture, the dynamics, the trends in your industry, and take steps accordingly.
Those are excellent tips, Smita. As per the dressing professional way you have shared, right? So I completely agree with this point. So as we have started working remotely, people have a tendency to work even in the pajamas, but I don't go with that aspect because I think it definitely creates a negative impression and doesn't give you a first impression at all.
I agree with you, Shruti. See, more than impression, first of all, it is how you feel about yourself. For me personally, when I work with pajamas, I don't feel that energy, that vibe, and that automatically makes the start of my day slack, which is definitely not something that I want to do. So each to his own, but yes, there are certain non-negotiables and ethics that you should never compromise with. So I agree with you there, Shruti.
Yes. Smita, how did you make a strong first impression when you started your coaching business?
Okay, so when I started my coaching business, Shruti, I was a newcomer. And the first week itself, it hit me that all my credentials, all my degrees, so I'm a BCom honors from SRCC and an MBA from IIM Indore, and it takes a lot of hard work to get those degrees, and it takes a lot of hard work after you get those degrees to establish yourself in the corporate world. And I've been working in that world for 14 years after I got these degrees, and yet I realized that none of these mattered when it comes to my chosen new destination. Uh, so, of course, I had a passion for coaching, but I didn't had any formal certifications, and I firmly believe that while passion is important, if you want to help others, if you want to give your best performance, you also need to make sure that you have the best education to back up that performance. That has been my mindset right from the start. And coming from the background that I have, I always stress on excellence. And that is why the first thing I did was not to rely on my passion, but to look for certifications that will equip me to be the best possible coach that I can be. And when I talk about certifications, I didn't go for any compromises. I went for the best. So, the International Coaching Federation, which is the apex body of for coaching industry, I enrolled myself for certifications affiliated to the International Coaching Federation. That was my first step of preparation. Second, you can learn all you can be the sincere most student in the classroom. However, if you don't apply it, you will forget that the best form of learning is what you learn while doing. So I was absolutely clear that whatever I was learning in the classroom, I need to apply immediately. That means I need to immediately start taking client coaching sessions. So that means 2 3 weeks after I ventured into coaching, i was I was already taking my first clients. So as a brand new coach who didn't had a background, that entailed a lot of courage. That also entailed a lot of preparation as to how to do those sessions. Yet it was that step that helped me. So by the time, it took me 6 7 months to get my certifications, by the time my fellow coaches were just thinking about, okay, how do we get clients, I had already had 5 6 clients in my belt while undertaking those certifications. So I was learning, I was applying what I was learning, I was seeing how the real world operates, and I was pivoting myself accordingly. Apart from that, so these are, I'm talking about the what I would say are the macro level preparation that is required for every session, and I still to date do it. But that time when I was starting out, I had nothing more but me. That means I had to project my best possible face. So I made sure that I presented myself professionally, was punctual, despite the nervousness that I was feeling. And when you start something new, it's natural. Nervousness is bound to come. Despite all that nervousness I was feeling in those initial days, I always made sure that from the outside, I projected a positive, calm, and approachable demeanor. I also listened carefully to my clients' needs and concerns, which helped build trust and rapport. And this preparation before every session is something I do till date. Of course, after 3.5 years and so many coaching sessions, the time that I spend for preparation has come down. So while earlier I may be preparing 1 hour before the session, now the preparation time may only be 10 15 minutes. But I make sure that I prepare. The more I am prepared, the more confident I am, the more focused and present I am, and the more I am able to help the clients. So, yeah, this is how I prepared myself while in the early days when I pivoted.
That is a great approach, Smita. I must say you have come a long way and you are always an inspiration to me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shruti.
Yeah. Smita, so for me, when I was establishing my business, I focused on being extremely responsive and responsible. This actually helped clients feel confident in my abilities from the beginning. So, Smita, now let's
Hold
discuss.
on, Shruti, hold on. I know you are eager to ask your next question, but I must add something here when I heard you say that. So you say that you're extremely organized, responsible, and I cannot agree with you more, having worked with you for some time now. I must say, initially when I met you and we interacted, and that was before like you started working with me, I was struck by your positive demeanor. So whatever, even like, though those talks didn't work out at that particular point in time, I was really, really very impressed by how you took out the effort to remain in touch, to give suggestions. And I must say the vibes that I got from you was very positive. So I can definitely say, yes, you are a very responsive person and a responsible person. And as a coach and an entrepreneur who works with virtual assistants, I can vouch that these are the qualities that are number one, rare. And second, when they are there, it's something that any entrepreneur will highly value. So please continue with this. These are your biggest assets, Shruti. I think I should call that out.
Thank you so much, Smita. This words really means a lot to me. And so let's discuss building credibility and demonstrating value in your new role. What strategies do you recommend?
Okay, strategy is a very big word you are using there, Shruti. As a consultant or as an ex-consultant, I don't know, maybe I have some kind of phobia with this word. But anyway, okay, let me share some of my tips or my perspectives on this front. First, you need to put yourself out there. That means you need to showcase your skills. And when you are initially pivoting, you may be thinking, okay, this is a new industry requiring a very new set of skills. But your past experience is never really a complete washout. And I've seen that personally. When you work, there are certain domain specific skills and there are certain sector agnostic skills, which we call as transferable skills that are applicable, pervasive across anywhere you work. So you should use every opportunity to demonstrate your transferable expertise and skills. And if that means in the initial days taking on challenging projects and delivering high quality work without taking remuneration or sufficient remuneration for it, go for it, because showcasing skills is important. Second, seek feedback. Regularly ask for feedback from your supervisors, from your colleagues, from your fellow workers, from the clients that you are working with. Till date, Shruti, I make sure that every session I have with my clients, towards the end after the session is over, I make it a point to seek feedback. Of course, there's a formal feedback mechanism which happens when somebody's coaching cycle is over, but I don't rely only on that mechanism. I make sure to understand how each session went, and I use that feedback constructively to improve and grow. So feedback is important because you will have only one perspective. When you see yourself from the perspective of another, that is when you will improve, and that will also show to the other party that you are committed to your growth, and that is important. Third, you need to build relationships. So cultivate strong relationships with your colleagues, supervisor, clients, with professionals who are already in the new industry that you are vying for or have just ventured in. Networking within your industry can really help build your credibility, and you will have advocates for your work without you doing all the advocacy, which is very important because time and energy are finite. And last but not the least, and this is where introverts struggle, and I myself struggled initially being an introvert, you need to communicate your wins. So don't be afraid to share your accomplishments. uh, I know some people think it is boastful, and I also had that perspective not too long ago. But if you don't communicate what successes you have achieved, who else will do that for you? So you are not doing yourself a favor by keeping your accomplishments, your achievements only to yourself. So keep your supervisors, keep your network. When I say network, if you are in the content creation field, if you are someone like, there may be others in this audience like you and me who have their own businesses, then you need to keep informed the network you are in about your progress and successes. Otherwise, they will not get to know about you. So these are some tips I had, Shruti.
Those are effective strategies and tips, Smita. Can you share an example of how you build credibility in your new career?
Hmm. When you use the word new, come to think of it, I still think of my career as new now, even though it's been 3.5 years. So yeah, time flies. Okay, so I think I did mention it in one of our earlier episodes that when I transitioned to coaching, I reached out to a few people from my network. When I say my network, it was the network from the world I had come in, from the corporate world. So I reached out to some people in the corporate world who knew me for some years and offered a few pro bono free sessions to them to build my client base, get some practice, but also to gather testimonials. So my approach was I reached out to three people and I had 10 people in my list, but I was very sure I want to give free sessions to three people, four sessions each. So a month I was targeting around 12 sessions and I had a list that, okay, I reach out to three people. If one of the three rejects, I go to my second list, third list, and so on. Fortunately, the first three people I reached out to accepted, and that is how I got my clients pro bono at that time. My proposition was, hey, I will give you four sessions for free because I'm just started with my coach training and I want practice. I want commitment from you that you show up and you give me honest feedback if you see value in the session. Any room for improvement, please tell me because it is my early days and I want to grow. If you see value from the sessions, and in case after the four sessions you want to continue further, that will come at a cost. But if you want to stop after four sessions, of course, that's up to you. Whatever challenge you have, we will try to help you find a solution within these four sessions. Also, the another thing that I shared with them, that I want testimonials at the end of the four sessions, considering that you found, if you found value from those sessions. And that is how my coaching journey started. I consistently sought feedback after each of the sessions and made improvements based on it. Fortunately, after the initial four sessions got completed, two out of the three people who I was giving free sessions, they expressed interest. They themselves asked me, "Okay, Smita, we want to continue. So, what are your fees?" And we will pay it, and we will continue. And the first time, when the first person asked, uh, I don't know how to put it, but I had not expected that this will happen, and I was not even prepared with my commercials. As in, I hadn't thought about. So on the spot, within a minute, I had to think, okay, what commercial should I charge? How many sessions should I offer, and how should I present it? So on the feet, I thought something and shared that with the person who was asking me this, and again, to my pleasant surprise, without batting an eyelid, the person accepted. And that made me realize, hey, number one, coaching does really offer value. Second, my decision is not wrong if people are willing to invest after taking these free sessions. And for a first time coach who was quoting a fee, somebody accepting the quote without negotiation, which we Indians are famous for, that was a huge vote of confidence. And of course, I got these testimonials. The day my website went up, I had three testimonials which showcased the results and communicated my success. Now, of course, I have a lot of testimonials, but those first three testimonials will always be something that I look back on fondly because I was able to build credibility and demonstrate the value I brought to my clients through those initial free sessions and the initial set of testimonials.
I must say, Smita, that's a fantastic strategy. For me, I build credibility by ensuring that I delivered top-notch services to my initial clients. So as you have shared, you have provided free sessions in the beginning. I have also did the same, like I provided free packages of a month of virtual assistance. And the same thing happened to me. One of those people gave me the first project, which was a paid project. So it does mean something that people say that we cannot work for free, but I do think it works out.
Oh, I agree, Shruti. And listening to your journey here, it does strengthens my belief that no matter separated by geographies, and you are sharing this story from that period of time where I didn't know you and you didn't know me. But it really tells me that people are more alike than different, and somewhere the journey, especially if like we are talking about career pivots and career transition, somewhere the journey, even though different, always also has some similarities, to the point that people say that you should not work for free. At this point, to some extent, even I agree with that view. You should not work for free after a period of time when you are already in that field. But when you are starting out, you are a newcomer, and there is no harm, no shame. You should not feel hesitant in working for free in those initial days, because this is also a learning time, isn't it, Shruti?
Yes, Smita, that's true, so true. And I feel that this led to not only to positive testimonials, but also word of mouth reference.
Yes, absolutely. Can't agree more there.
Smita, speaking of testimonials, how important are social testimonials and proofs in establishing yourself?
Oh, I would say incredibly important, Shruti. They serve as third party validation of your skills and expertise. So I can always proclaim that, I am one of the best coaches out there. But for someone who decides to invest in my services, they would want social proofs. By social proofs, I mean the third party validations. And if it is someone else who tells them that, hey, she is one of the best coaches out there, that will always carry more credibility. And that is the job that testimonials do. I also have like a few tips for our viewers on how can they go about gathering testimonials and also leveraging them. First, even when you are starting anew in a field, request testimonials from your colleagues, supervisor, and clients from your past career who can vouch for your work, and display these prominently on your website, LinkedIn, any other social media platforms where your profile is relevant. It's very, very important. uh, Apart from testimonials, do create some detailed case studies that showcase your work. These case studies should reveal the challenges you faced and the results you achieve. This will provide concrete evidence of your capabilities. Also, encourage satisfied clients to leave positive reviews on platforms like LinkedIn, your website, Google, and there are certain industry specific sites. So for me specifically, given the type of clients I coach, I have never encouraged them to come to Google. I know most of them will not leave testimonials on LinkedIn, because when somebody comes to a coach, they want their confidentiality to be protected. And by LinkedIn, everybody will come to know, okay, this person worked with a coach. And that's still an area, especially Indian clients, they're hesitant to reveal their identities. But I make sure that I gather, every client I work with, I make sure that I request them, and I also follow up till they give some testimonials, which then I put on my website, making sure that their identity is protected. Also, showcase endorsements. Highlight endorsements and recommendations on your LinkedIn profile, even if it is from a past employer. These can be powerful tools for building credibility, even in your new field.
Testimonials and proofs played a significant role in establishing my business too, Smita. They provided potential clients with confidence in my services.
Great to know that, Shruti. So, every professional who is out there, they should never underestimate the power of a testimonial to make your work shine out.
True, Smita. Can you share a success story related to social testimonials?
Sure. So, one of my clients transitioned to a career in project management from a creative field. Once he did some initial pro bono projects, after getting the relevant certifications, he collected detailed testimonials from colleagues and clients he had worked with while doing these freelancing pro bono projects. These testimonials highlighted his project management skills and also his ability to deliver results. He displayed these on his LinkedIn profile and also put them out on his resume, which helped him to secure a full time project management role at a marquee company.
That's an excellent example of the power of the testimonials. Smita, finally, let's discuss overcoming common challenges faced by career changes. What advice do you have for our viewers?
Okay, career change is not easy. It's very daunting, in fact. And even for me personally, when I decided that my career isn't for me, I'm talking about my past corporate career, it took me years, not months. It took me years to take that step. So, the common challenges that I think are prevalent despite the industries and careers you are considering. First is imposter syndrome. Many career changers feel like imposters in their new roles. I certainly had doubts about myself in those initial days when I had just taken a pivot. Remember, it's normal to feel this way and focus on your strengths and accomplishments. Seek support from mentors, peers, and your family because it's a long journey and you will need all the support that you can. Second, skill gaps. Identify any skill gap that you have from your current profile to what is required to establish to make yourself as successful in your new industry, and take proactive steps to fill them through courses, training, and hands-on experience. And this is not a one-time activity. For example, with me, even now every year I take some courses when it comes to coaching and writing. Continuous learning is key here. Third, build a network. I know it can be challenging to build a network from scratch in the new industry that you are venturing in. So be patient, attend industry events, and leverage online networking opportunities. Platforms like LinkedIn are valuable avenues for you to connect with other people without venturing from the confines of your home. Last but not the least, maintain confidence and hang on there. See, career pivots can be daunting. You need to celebrate your small wins, stay positive, and remind yourself of why you made the change in the first place.
Great advice, Smita. Overcoming challenges is part of the journey and staying resilient is crucial. Any final thoughts for our viewers on establishing themselves in a new career?
Hmm. So, I would say stay patient and persistent. Building a new career takes time, but with the right strategies and mindset, you can establish yourself successfully. Focus on your strengths, continuously seek opportunities to grow, and don't hesitate to ask for help when needed. If you can't do it alone, there are professionals like me who are there to help you in this journey.
Thank you, Smita, for this invaluable insight. In the next episode, we'll discuss overcoming fear and building confidence for career transitions. Thank you to our audience for joining us today. If you have any questions or thoughts, please leave them in the comments. See you next time.
Thank you, Shruti. Looking forward to the next episode.